Hi guys. Okay, so I'm gonna start this little tour of my homestead. So I will flip the camera around. So we're gonna start in my sunroom. So currently, right now, I have germinating some third generation of my bell peppers that I started on a balcony in Elk Ridge. We saved the seeds from them, planted them when I came to Mount Airy, and then we saved the seeds. So this is the third generation of them. They're starting to sprout. I planted them about a week ago. So those are coming in. We already have a bunch of bells in the garden, but I figured I have the seeds, may as well. Here I am doing some Reliance grape seeds. So I'm starting my own grape plants. And these cells here, I am starting tea plants so I can have tea bushes, and I have my first little sprout there. And I've also got a couple more outside that have begun to sprout as well. I'm trying some outdoors and then some in the little greenhouse kits. And then in this one, ignore the mess. I have bottles everywhere because I use them for planting. I plant things in them. I use them as little greenhouse domes. I've got a bunch of different varieties of pumpkins and peppers and different varieties of tomatoes. These are little black cherry tomato sprouts. I can't. There we go. Little black cherry tomato sprouts. They are an heirloom tomato. And then a green zebra tomato, heirloom tomato, which is here. I just planted those 2 days ago, so they're not going to come anytime soon. But the Big Max pumpkins are starting to come in. I'm going to start my pumpkin patch on June 2nd. I also got some Jarradale pumpkin seeds, which are the blue variety. And then these are the Cinderella pumpkin seeds. So I've got a few different varieties of pumpkins, and I've also got a couple more varieties that are coming. I'm still waiting on the seeds. This is my sunroom. It's a disaster. It's like my growing haven. So I've got like all my seeds I keep here. I've also got some ginseng seeds. And here's actually what the tea seeds look like. They're pretty cool. They're big balls. You have to soak them first so you can kind of get the shell. But I ordered 100 of them because I knew that they weren't all going to germinate. But I've got my little tea drawers. I've got hundreds of varieties of seeds. But I also have, these are Jerusalem artichokes. I have nowhere to put all of these guys, but there are so many left. You can actually eat them. They're delicious. Roasted with some kale. But these are just tubers that we pulled up that are now starting to sprout because we haven't done anything with them. But you can eat these guys. They're really, really good. But they grow wild like a weed. Also have some chickens in here. These are little baby silkies. They got really feathery overnight. They're little fluff butts is what I like to call them. My patio is a disaster right now because I've got a bunch of stuff that I reseeded and started, like some marshmallow root. I'm starting some aloe from seed, lavender, a bunch of different things out here. Some tomatoes that I just didn't have any more room for, so I just left them in their trays. So that is everything that's left over there. I started more watermelons. I've got a lemon tree, an avocado tree that I started from a pit. It's about 2.5 feet, 3 feet tall right now. I started from a pit last year. So I'll go into the front right now before we head out back. My husband is putting together a play set for my son. So it is a disaster over here. Free cycle groups, amazing. You can find everything. So I have these new beds that I just started over here. They're going to be little overgrown herb gardens that are going to be community herb gardens for our neighborhood. They've got a bunch of different things like lemon balm, creeping rosemary. I've got some catnip. I've got some coriander, dill, chamomile, 3 different varieties of mint in here, a bunch of lavender that I started from seed, sage, chives, This is marjoram that it's not doing too hot because it's transplanted from someone's yard. They were basically pulling all of it from their yard. And I was like, wait, don't throw it out. Let me take some. So I pulled it and I'm trying to reroot it straight into the ground. So this was done 2 days ago. So I'm trying to get it to now root in the ground here. So trying to get it to take off. This is the goji berry tree. So hoping I'll get some goji berries in here. This is where all my flowers here. I planted a bunch of herbs, like some marshmallow root and sage. I need to pull all these thistle. Thistle are the devil. But I've got a bunch of sage and everything growing through here. I'm gonna put a bunch more seeds. So basically this will be like perennials only, and different butterfly flowers. Okay, back out to the back. And also, hello everyone. Also, we built this. This was supposed to be for strawberries. We have to do a new build on it. I need to put a soaker hose through the center. It was supposed to be for strawberries. We learned that Mount Airy is way too windy. It's called Mount Airy for a reason. We had the strawberries in there. They were doing really well. And then it got too windy and it ripped the strawberries straight out of it. Like the leaves were getting torn off. So this is my backyard. It is about 1.5 acres. So it's definitely a lot bigger of an upgrade from my New York City apartment windowsill, which was tiny. This is my rose bush, which I will show you guys something I do a little bit different. This is an asparagus plant. It is going to seed. I'm letting it seed. I do at least one to seed every year. That way it can drop the seeds down into the rose bush, which grows in like a bark mulch. So it keeps the asparagus growing up through the roses, which keeps predators from getting to the asparagus. So as you see, I've got a couple shoots of asparagus coming in. I just picked a couple the other day. So they get about 1.5 feet each asparagus before I pick them. So this one is actually going to be ready to be picked probably today or tomorrow. I usually pick them when they're about this high. They shoot up really quick. I usually get about 20 asparagus a year. If we come over here, on the side yard, I have 2 different apple trees, which I just planted this past year. So I might possibly get fruit this year, but probably not until next year. So those are my 2 apple trees. I think I have Empire and Gala was what I planted. I can't quite remember. I've got the tags on there actually. Let me bring you guys over. You guys can find out with me because I completely forgot. Oh no, I have a red rome, and then, okay, Golden Delicious and Red Roma. There we go. Okay, so now back to the backyard again. So along this fence line over here, I'm planting ginseng, which I already have the seeds for. I have not planted it yet. And then under this tree, we plan on doing truffles. These trees that are in the ground here were just planted about a month ago. I have a cherry tree here, and it's a dwarf cherry. Here we have 2 nectarine trees. Jake is with the chickens. He is letting them free range right now. We have a run that is 8 feet tall, 12 feet across, so they spend most of the time in there. We don't let them free range because we have a lot of predators here. One tried to get in last night. The back corner, I have a mushroom garden, which I grow lion's mane, shiitake, and oyster. And I'll let you guys see, I've got some, I think lion's mane coming in right now. And also thank you for watching. Here we go. So I've got some lion's mane coming in on that log there. And then I have some shiitake coming in here. And then on this log, I have some more shiitake. And then on this one, it looks like my oyster backed in. So my oyster was starting to come out and then it kind of regressed. So I need to soak the log again and see if it'll go back out. I think it's because it got so hot. It was coming out and then the heat kind of just spiked up and it just backed up. Oh, I have honeysuckle this year. Oh, lovely. That's going to spread like a weed. Which it is. Let's see. So this is one of my compost piles over here. It's just a free compost pile, which we take everything from the chicken coop and put over there. I have chickweed as a pile for chickens that it just grows on top of this hill. Around the chicken coop, I have all of my herbs, and my artichokes are growing through here. Those are the Jerusalem artichokes. More herbs, and actually corn is growing along the side of the run. So now I will bring you to the main event, which is the garden. Okay, so this is the main event. So this is the garden. This is my trellis for my grapes, and this is more Reliance grapes. I ordered these mother plants last year. They were not doing so hot, so we weren't sure if they were actually going to produce or if they were going to die. However, this year they really took off, minus this guy, which was just planted this year, and I think he's a Concord. And he's right there in the center. There's one on the other side that's in the center as well. And these Reliance are actually starting to seed, so I'm gonna get some grapes on them soon. I've also got asparagus growing in the boxes as well. So I put in about 40 asparagus plants in this, and those were from seed. So that's growing there. So these are my potatoes, which did die during the frost, and I had to wait for them to come back. They just bounced back when the heat came this week. So hopefully they'll start getting bigger. I have Yukon Gold, I have the purple potatoes, red potatoes, and russet all throughout here. So we'll get some mini varieties and some bigger ones. This is my monster oregano plant and my chives. I need to cut back the chives. I collect the seeds from them once they get to this point so that I can replant and make new chive plants. I've also got an elderberry plant right here, which I just transplanted in here. So I'll get some elderberries. This is my mystery tomato box. It is all tomato plants that were regrown from last year. I just let this box go. This was my tomato box last year, and I just let the seeds come up. So whatever was here last year regrows. So mostly what was in this box last year was Big Daddy tomato and cherry tomato. So that is probably what popped up. I don't know, and we're gonna find out once they get bigger. I also planted a pepper plant and some basil in here as well, and also my garlic, which did not do well. It just kind of died back. There are some coming back up, but we'll see. My carrots did not do well. I had to plant more seeds, which they are now starting to take. So the carrots are just now starting to germinate and come up. So, and I actually just bought more seeds so I can do more carrots. My strawberries are now starting to produce strawberries. So I've got a nice cage around it because birds in my yard are jerks and they like to eat my strawberries. I've got some Brussels sprouts, lots of celery. I've got turnips down here, which are getting pretty big. Got some radishes, which are also getting pretty large. I've got lettuce that I just free seeded, where I just kind of sprinkled the seeds, so I need to actually transplant some of these and move them around. I gave a bunch to my neighbor to plant yesterday. And then a bok choy plant, which was the only one that survived the cold. So I'm letting it go to seed so I can harvest the seeds and plant more. And this is if you didn't know what the seeds look like. So if you let your lettuce or your kale or your bok choy go too long, it'll start to do this. Like if it starts to flower, it'll start to go to seed like this. And then this is actually how you harvest seeds from your lettuce and kale. Once it starts to turn yellow, you let it dry out and then you take the seeds. And that's how you get more of lettuce, kale, and bok choy. That is actually what I did over here to this kale plant, which I planted last spring. It is currently about 5.5 feet tall. It has giant seed pods on it. Here's a couple really big ones. Some are about the size of my hand. It's very massive, and it actually sits in my herb box, which is my mix herb box, which has herb and 3 different kinds of mint, Thai basil, regular basil, sage, oregano, let's see what else. The thyme. It has scallions that I planted last year from seed, and it got so big that it's still here. And look at this thing, is like a stick, like it's like a bat. Got more kale. 3 different varieties of onions. Got some beets, some more scallions, which I'm hoping will become to the level of that big guy over there. Got a bunch of broccoli, which I actually need to spread out. I planted it way too close, but I'm just letting it go, and then we'll see what happens. And then over here, so in those fenced-in walls that I did with string and just various sticks, I've actually got sunflowers and corn, and I'm a little mad right now because the squirrels and rabbits in my yard are being jerks, and they are clipping back my sunflowers. So I'm in the process of building a fence around my entire garden to block them from getting in. Squirrels obviously can still get in. I'm in the process of finding a solution for that, but the rabbits will be a little more, easy to deter. These 3 beds are all peppers. I've got 6 or 7 different varieties of hot peppers, to include Thai chili peppers. I've got a bunch of different varieties of bell peppers through here. I've got cauliflower, and I made these little signs with wood, and I engraved them in there. Got some cabbage, which I started really late, so it's still really small. It's tiny little cabbage plants. I've got 25 different tomato plants here. I think I have, at this point, 6 to 8 different varieties of tomatoes, to include the 2 different varieties that I have growing in the sunroom currently. I have golden zucchini, which is all here in this row. There's actually 2 different varieties of zucchini. I've got the golden dawn and the zucchini gold. So those are all up here. And then this is my melon garden. I've got 2 different kinds of cantaloupe and 1 variety of watermelon. And then a bunch of watermelons actually starting to germinate up on the patio, so I'll have to add those in as well. And then I've got 2 different varieties of eggplant, a ton of different varieties of beans, to include yellow wax, pole beans, lima beans, more squash and zucchini throughout this row. I've got a few different varieties of peas and beans all through here as well. Basically, this entire corner is all going to be different kinds of beans. I've got loofah gourds here, so those are going to come up. Back here is where I have this entire row is all raspberries and blackberries, and my raspberry plants were all planted last year. They're all starting to come up, get pretty big. They're about 3.5 feet right now. This is the biggest one. The other day they were only about 1 foot, so they are really starting to shoot up. They're going to start kind of like getting pushed back to the fence. Some are thorny, some are not. They're all different varieties. Each bush is different. This is a pecan tree that did not do so hot, so I'm waiting for the company to actually replace it. I had a warranty on the tree itself. I did the plant insurance. This entire row is my blueberries. So I've got a couple different types of blueberries as well. I've actually got some blueberries on here. So, and this is a different type of blueberry. So 2 different ones right next to each other. So they're doing actually really well. So I've got a bunch of stuff I actually need to get in here. And I'll take you over to see the chickens. Oh, and also, kudos, rando toilet, which is going to be turned into a planter. It was sitting in my shed. We pulled it out of the house a couple months ago, and I was like, what can I do with a rando toilet that is broken and cracked? You know what? I'm going to turn it into a planter. So that is getting painted and turned into a planter because upcycling, yay. And then this grassy main of an area is actually getting converted into a deck. We've got pallets that are overgrown with grass right now, but we're cutting it back. We're going to do a tea table area and do flower beds around it with some vining flowers. We're going to build a trellising gutter garden here where I'm going to plant lettuce beds throughout. And then off the side, we're doing a rain barrel system. I've got all this hose right here. It's all soaker hose. I just bought the hooks for it. I'm going to run the soaker hose through the entire garden. So, all right, let's go back over here. You can see the chicks, and then that will be all. That's everything I've got going on. And that's Jake doing his stretchy thing. That is my rooster, BBC. Hey, buddy. He loves the camera, so he's going to come say hi. Hey, BB. Hello, buddy. This is Digit. Dig. Hey. Hi. Hey, Digit. Hello. And that's Dexter. And the other chickens who are free roaming. The others just want to stay and hang out in here, apparently. But thank you guys. Thank you guys for watching, and I will keep you posted as we do more with the homestead. We have a lot more planned and a lot more to go in the ground. I have a very, very busy next 2 weeks ahead of me. So thank you.